non-client days in your coaching business. Now, when you're a new coach, I know that the temptation can be to just want to have as many clients as possible, fill as many client slots as possible, to see people whenever is most convenient for them and not for you. I totally get that, because that was me a few years ago as well. But there's so many reasons why having non-client facing days in your business is really important, particularly if you want to have any semblance of good mental health, if you want to have time and space to grow your business, and if you just want to enjoy like a lot of the freedom that comes with running a coaching business. It just makes sense to have non-client facing days. So how do we set these up? What things do we want to consider? How do we start implementing this into our business? That's what we're going to cover today. So first of all, I think it's fairly obvious why we would want to have non-client facing days, but there's lots of reasons why this is a really good idea in your business. So first of all, one of the things that makes non-client days awesome is that you get time to work on your business and not just in it. Now, when we're working in our business, we're very much working like in the day-to-day running of things. We are seeing clients, perhaps we're doing some of our marketing, like we're very much in the running of it. And when we don't get the time to step outside of that and actually to work on the business and to look at opportunities for growth and to create new things, new offers, new freebies, to seek out new collaborations, things like that, that's when our business growth is going to be really slow. And honestly, this is something I've struggled with a lot through my business, is finding the time to be doing that kind of stuff outside of all of the running of the business stuff. But having non-client days makes that a lot easier to achieve. So making sure that you have days set aside when you can actually work on your business and not just in it is going to massively help you with growth and creating more income and serving more people and all of that jazz as well. Another reason that having non-client days is helpful is that when we are doing less switching between tasks, we are wasting less energy. So if you, let's say that you have Monday to Friday and you have clients dotted around throughout the week, and obviously you're going to be wanting to work on other things in your business, that switching between coach mode and let's say marketing mode, or let's say like admin mode, like that switching wastes energy. Your brain, there's a process that your brain has to go through in terms of switching tasks and switching focuses and things like that. So when we do that quite often, we're just wasting a lot of energy and making it harder for ourselves than it needs to be. Whereas if we can have certain things done in bulk or in batches, that means that switching of the brain and the switching of the tasks and the focus is much less than it would be if we were doing it all of the time. So having non-client days allows us to do that more effectively, and we're not having to switch out of coach mode quite so frequently, and it just means that we can work in a different, more effective way basically. It's also really good if we want to just have time to recharge, if we want to have space in our businesses. And something that's always been really important to me is this feeling of expansiveness and not feeling pressured or busy and things like that. And I'm human, you know, things get busy, things get stuff piles up and stuff needs to be done. But it's always a good thing to come back to, is like having non-client days allows you that little bit more space to be flexible with your time, to be flexible with what it is that you're doing. And it just having that built in means that you've got a little bit more like room for that. Also, giving yourself that time to recharge. If you're quite introverted, I think that's really essential, because holding space for clients is energetically can be quite draining, certainly depending on the niche that you're in and the kind of work that you do. And giving yourself adequate time to recharge and to have time when you don't have to be in coach mode and you don't have to be holding space for others is really important as well. Also, another reason why non-client days rock is that sometimes you might just want to have a day working in your PJs on the sofa. Now that's 100% me. I try to have like at least one day a week when I can literally just be on the sofa, I put a nice set of candle on, I put a movie on or something, and I can actually get quite a lot of work done in that time. But just having that, again, it's something that it feels really good to me to have these really relaxed days where I don't need to worry about my hair or my makeup or the fact that I haven't washed my hair and that I look a bit of a scruff. And to be fair, I'm sure my clients wouldn't mind, because my clients are amazing, but I want to be professional, and for me, being well dressed and having my best face forward and stuff is about professionalism and about how I want to show up for my clients and for myself in my business. But it's really lovely to have days where I don't do that in my business and I can still get work done, but I don't have to do that. And it's just really lovely to have those days. So some of my non-client days are very much like that, which is awesome. These kind of days can also be really helpful if you're the kind of person who needs like really big expanses of time to get stuff done. Now, I'm one of these people. I find even like trying to split a larger task down into smaller chunks, like I think my brain just needs time to get into something. So trying to work in these little slots of time around client calls is quite difficult. I don't get a lot done in those. Whereas if I have full day to work on something, I'm so much more productive. Like the volume of stuff I get done is huge. I think it was a few months ago, I think, but I created and built out like a full sales funnel in like an afternoon or something, because I had this day to just get into it. And when my brain is in that space, I can just absolutely bang it out. I can really get it done, but I need that big expansive time. Like I say, something I've learned about myself is that this expansiveness is really important to me. I work my best when I feel that way. And it's just protecting that time so that I can do that is really valuable for me and my business. So if you're similar to me, then having these non-client days is going to be fantastic for you as well. So I'm sure that I've sold the idea of having non-client days to you guys thoroughly now. I'm sure you're on board with it all. So if you wanted to create these non-client days, how do we actually implement them? What do we do? So the first thing I would say is to look at your entire life. We're not going to look at our life and business in two separate silos here. I really believe that for most of us, when we're running a coaching business, like those boundaries are going to be a little bit blurred, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but we can explore that. But you want to have a look at your business and your life and just see how the two interact, and start to think about which days would be best for you to not see clients on. So for me, in my business, I work Monday to Thursdays. I'm off on Fridays with my daughter, and that's really important to me to work 4 days part-time. And I tend to work between about 9 and 3. Sometimes that varies, but usually it's around about 9 till 3 o'clock, because I do the school run at 3 o'clock. And usually on a morning, my son goes to breakfast club and my daughter starts nursery, but I usually try and do a workout on most mornings when I'm working, apart from Tuesdays. But it's basically just getting to know the flow of your week. So like I say, for me, Mondays, Wednesdays and Thursdays are all very similar days. Tuesdays, my mum looks after my daughter and they're slightly different. So I usually work slightly later on a Tuesday, and Thursdays I go for coffee with my friends in the morning. So it's got like its own flow. So for me, I've identified that Mondays and Thursdays are my non-client days, and that works really well. I feel like at one point there were different days, and then I changed them around for a particular reason. And again, like that's the amazing thing about having that flexibility and that freedom to do so. But Monday and Thursdays works really well for me. I like having a Monday clear of clients so that after the weekend I can get into things, I can get a head start on my week, I can feel like being productive and getting stuff done right up front. And then Tuesdays and Wednesdays work really well. Tuesdays particularly because even if my daughter was sick, my mum would usually be around. My mum, I don't know why I call her mum, because I say mum. I don't know why I do that. But my mum will go into full Geordie mode there. My mum will watch Freya on a Tuesday. So I know even if Freya's sick, that Tuesdays would be covered because my mum would be able to take care of her on a Tuesday. So that's a really good day for having client calls. And a Wednesday as well, that's a good day. And having those 2 days in the middle of the week to really focus on client calls, group calls in my group program, just any kind of like client people facing stuff where I have to look half decent. That tends to happen on a Tuesday and Wednesday. So that works super well for me. And then Thursdays is a really good day for just like wrapping up the week, working on certain things. Like I'm recording this on a Thursday. Usually I would record this on a Monday, but the way that the weeks ran is just the way that the weeks ran. But it gives you that flexibility basically. So that works really well for me. And it's basically just about looking at, like I say, what you've got going on in your business, what you've got going on in life, and really like just identifying, okay, so these days are going to be best, and working it out around there. And then once you've got that in place, it's either, you've got a couple of options. If you're booking clients in manually, then what I would do is have in your calendar, like however it is that you manage your time, have them like your non-client days blocked out basically, so that you're not booking people in. If you're booking people manually, like only give them availability on your client days. Now, this sometimes gets a bit tricky. I'm going to talk about some of the reasons why we can resist this and some of the like issues that come up around having non-client days. But if you're booking people manually, it is really simple. You just say, I'm available these days. How does that work for you? If you are using an online scheduler, it's even easier. And to be honest, I would really recommend that you use an online scheduler. It's really easy to set something like this up in something like Calendly or Acuity or some CRMs like Dubsado. They will have the options. That's what I use in my business. And I tell Dubsado to only give availability when someone books in on a Tuesday and Wednesday. And that's the availability that's there. And that works really well. It gives people those options. 9 times out of 10, people will find a slot that works for them in the days that I have available. And I really appreciate that for them to do that. But honestly, my business couldn't run if I did it any other way, basically. So that works really well. Like I say, it's a lot simpler. People tend to find a slot that works for them with your calendar. They will work it out and you get to run your business how it needs to be done. So basically, identify a day or days that are going to work for you around your life and business. Block out the non-client days in your calendar or in your diary, however it is that you do. If you're booking people in manually, you need to stick with it, because the temptation, and I'm going to come on to some of the issues that people might have with this, but the temptation is to book people in whenever they're free and not around you, because we're nice people and we want to please people. But my preference would always be using an online scheduler and sending people an online scheduler link. And also, just another thing is really just communicating to your clients, these are the days when I see clients. Is that going to be an issue for you? These are the days that we have calls, because you can tie yourself up in knots trying to be available whenever anyone else is. But ultimately, this is your business and you have to run your business in a way that's going to work for you primarily, or else the business is just not going to make sense and not going to work as well as it could do. That's one of the things, is clearly communicating that with your clients so they know what to expect, particularly if you do a manual booking. To be fair, actually, I will tend to, like, if someone's booking in with me for the first time, it would usually be through a booking link. But if someone is booking in with me, like a client is booking in their next session at the session that we're in, I'll tend to do that manually. And they all know that Tuesdays and Wednesdays are my days that I see people, and that works super well. Often though, the concerns that people have with implementing this kind of like system of non-client days is that, especially when we're starting out as coaches, we just want clients, and we will have them whenever they are available, and we will do anything we can to accommodate clients. And I absolutely get that. That was 100% me. I was seeing clients all over the shop on evenings, weekends. Like, it was basically, when are you free? And I will be free for you. I did that because I wanted to please people, I wanted to be a good coach, and I wanted to be available and all of that stuff. And that's great, but it's a one-way ticket to burning out, and it's just not practical for you to do that at all. And certainly I think that really the penny massively dropped for me when I had children, because I just couldn't physically do that anymore. So that was a big thing that really helped me actually implement a lot of this. But basically, the thing to remember is, you're not going to lose clients over you having some boundaries about when you see people. If someone has a really good reason, like, I really can't do like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, like that's when I work, or that's when I've got this going on or that going on, I'm really sorry. Like, obviously, that's fine. But if someone's just not really given a reason, they're just being awkward, then honestly, you probably wouldn't want them as a client anyway. There's that side of things. I think the fear is that you're going to lose clients because you have only certain times when you can see people, but that doesn't tend to be the reality. Now, what I tend to do with mine is, I'm not like, I have this system in place, but it's not rigid. I don't see the point in having anything rigid in your business. It just doesn't make sense. So what I'll always have on my schedulers is, find a slot below. If you have any trouble finding a slot that works for you, please let me know and I'll take another look at my diary calendar. I have that on every single schedule that I've got, because I know that between 9 and 3, Tuesday to Wednesday, it's a short amount of time, and if people have regular things on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, they're going to struggle. So I always have that in, and if someone really genuinely is struggling to get booked in, then I will look at where I can have some flexibility. Now, this is particularly helpful when I'm working with people from outside the UK in different time zones, because that's when it does get a bit tricky. And if I can accommodate someone without it being a massive issue for me, then I will do that. So that's not a problem. I'm happy to be flexible as well. But the default is that it's these set days. But it doesn't mean, like I say, I think the fear is that, oh my goodness, well, I can't possibly see anyone outside of those days now that I've said that, or I can't possibly limit when people can see me because then I won't get clients. Like that, those fears are not the reality, and you can be flexible with this whole system as well. Like I say, if I am seeing someone in the US and time zones just aren't working out, I will look at my calendar and see what I can do. At the moment, I have once a month, I have one of our group calls for the Wholehearted Business Programme, and that's on at 7 p.m, and that's once a month. And genuinely speaking, I don't particularly like working evenings, but I wanted that programme to be accessible for people all over the world, and the times that I've got the calls makes it the most accessible it can be, and that's fine. And that's part of me wanting to show up for people, and that's actually fine, and it doesn't impact my life massively negatively. But if I was working every evening, that would not be sustainable. It would have a massive negative impact. So it's just like choosing what your hard boundaries are and what boundaries can be a little bit flexible for people and seeing what you can do. But like I say, having that default setting is really helpful, and most of the time people will find a slot that works within what you've got available for them. Again, this is really important, particularly if you are like side hustling at the moment, if you're still working in the job, if you literally only have certain times when you can see people, it's going to just make sense to do it that way. And the good news is you can implement it like this. I think, like I say, online calendar is really good for helping with this. And yeah, and it gives you so much more freedom and flexibility in your business. Like I say, it allows you to have those days when you can just work on your pages from the sofa and not worry about having to show up. And also just having that rest from being in space holding mode, I think is very essential, particularly if you are coaching people around certain topics and certain niches where you are going to need that rest and recuperation between big chunks of seeing people. So I hope that's been helpful. I hope it's given you lots of things to think about. As always, I would love any feedback that you have for me on this episode. Please let me know. Pop me a DM on Instagram. I'm at wholeheartedlylaura. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. That would be amazing. Thank you so much. And yeah, check out the blog post if you want the written version of this as well. That's always available if you want to see the written version. But yes, I really hope that's been helpful. I'd love to know if you are going to implement non-client days. Please let me know, and I will see you next week, guys. Take care. Bye.